trauma-informed storytelling, or the ethics of storytelling. So let's unpack it. Really, as somebody who has done a lot of like trauma-informed work, right? Like stories and plays that have been earthed in a lot of trauma, right? Like I felt like for a while I was like, am I the go-to girl for trauma? Like what's going on here? But I guess that's what you get when you want to be dramatic. So I feel like I can say from an experiential place that we need to be more trauma-informed when it comes to storytelling. Theater, I think, does a great job. I've been in productions who have done better than others, right? Like, just the reality of it. But on some level, whether it's amongst the cast or there's a talk back where we unpack it for the audience, I think that it still does get, there's still a conversation around it, right? In the making of it, or so that the audience can really chew on it or can process it as we're doing it. An example of that I feel did a horrible job was this Broadway show. It was by a Middle Eastern playwright, and one of the scenes just was so violent. Like I felt violated. I'm not gonna say what the play was. It was on Broadway. I was invited to the show, and I was like, me and my friend were gonna have a drink afterwards, but we were all like, oh, I think we should all just go home. I'm like, yeah, okay, that feels right. And I say this because there are some stories that are so earthed in trauma that you really need to be more careful and more aware with how you tell the story. Even if the genre might be fun or the genre is a specific genre, right? This happens a lot with horror stories. And I came across a creator, and I don't want to call anybody out, right? Like, this is about information. This is about education. This is about, like, let's talk about how we tell stories and the stories we tell and safe practices. I will say this first before I go into that specific thing. There's this film, one of Ava DuVernay's films. I think it was Selma. I might have the title wrong, but she hired psychologists to show up and to be there on set so that if the actors ever felt, or anybody on set ever felt that they needed to unpack something, that they were available. And I just have to say that this is such a beautiful example of safe practices for performers and for crew members to keep a safe space for your emotional health, right? Because just because you're embodying something does not mean that you need to destroy your mental health in the process. So I came upon a creator, and they were talking about the LaLaurie mansion and the LaLaurie, the story of the LaLaurie house. And if you know the story, it is a story that is earthed in violence towards Black bodies. It was during, you can look into the story. And I have listened to this creator because, I love their stories. But something about this just felt wrong. I was just like, this is not something that we should be doing. Especially when we don't have the same cultural background, right? Like when we don't have the same cultural background as the story, right? Or the people in the story, I think we need to be extra careful. I think we need to be extra informed, and to use these kinds of stories that are earthed in trauma as fodder for entertainment, as fodder for, building your audience. I think that there's just something I don't know. It just feels wrong. I can't judge anything because I'm not anyone to tell you what is right and what is wrong, but it feels wrong. And I had the same issue with American Horror Story, despite very heavy hitter actors and such an amazing thing that so many Black actors and actors of color could be, hired for that story. But again, when we use these stories that are earthed in trauma as fodder for entertainment, I think that there's a carelessness there with a storyteller. Because even if you don't believe, because yes, like the genre of horror is always earthed in some level of violence, right? Like the idea that because people pass away under violent circumstances, that then something is left behind. Whether you believe in that in real life or not, or you just enjoy it as entertainment, it doesn't matter. But as storytellers, especially when we're telling stories about other people's cultural backgrounds and things that have actively happened in history, it's very different, right? It's different if Coogler decided to make this film, right? Because we have seen how Coogler uses story to talk about very specific topics. He doesn't, like, look at the example of like that vampire film. Sorry, I forgot the name of it. How he used that horror to talk about whiteness and blackness, and even in within their own cultural background of like passing versus not passing, and all the multiple layers, right? He was setting something up. It wasn't just entertainment. He was bringing something to light within his own community, but certainly within the society that it lived in. And so I feel that we need to be a little more careful as storytellers. We need to understand safe practices when it comes to whether it's like, a disclaimer, or whether it's a, I told this story, now let's unpack it, right? Like about the actual history of this, right? About how it impacts, how, all these things. I will say I did not stay for that story because it just felt that it was unnecessary, and that we really need to start using these safe practices, especially on social media, right? Like when artists use something, and even artists can unpack something without care, right? They can unpack something without awareness, without being trauma informed. But I think best practices are unpacking it with your audience, right? Bringing on somebody who is a historian, or somebody who can unpack like the horrors of something like that for the audience, for education, so that it's clear this isn't just entertainment. Like, like the horrors that happened to slaves should never be entertainment. But that's also true of so many other things that are deeply at their core earthed in trauma. We need to be more careful with our audiences, with our actors, with our stories, and how we tell stories. Anyway, that's my take. That's my, perspective. Again, I'm not trying to, judge anything or anybody, but we do have to be, it's that perspective of like walk with care, of like doing things with care, right? We don't want to re-traumatize people, and we also don't want to use something that is such a heavy topic as fodder for entertainment, because in that perspective, at least as it pertains to me, I find it wrong.